Now on the news from Volkswagen that just over 90,000 of its cars in Australia are affected by its diesel emissions scandal. With more, here's Tim Robson from the website Go Auto. Nice to see you, Tim. Thanks so much for coming in. Can you just quickly cover for us which VW diesel models are affected by this?
Basically everything that's equipped with what Volkswagen calls the EA189 engine. It's a 1.6 litre diesel engine and a 2 litre diesel engine. It covers everything from the Golf, Passat. We understand now that commercial vehicles like the Transporter, the Amarok are affected as well. It does cover quite a wide range of Volkswagen vehicles, as well as Audi and Skoda, which are sub-brands.
Volkswagen says they're not going to start fixing this problem until January next year at the earliest. As an auto journalist, are you surprised that it's not moving faster to try and fix this?
In terms of public perception, yeah, it's difficult for the brand to overcome something as complex and as long-ranging as this. It'll have financial implications for many, many years to come. It'll have implications on what new models they build. They'll be restricting development on new cars. In terms of the Australian example, they do have to follow what the German masters say, I guess. They can't go out with false information or with information that isn't correct for their consumers. So the cars aren't dangerous, I guess. That's the number one thing. But what emissions are being put out is a difficult one to answer. Right at the moment, it's such a developing story.
Because our permitted levels of emissions are higher than those in the US
Correct.
And in Europe, is that right? So do we actually know if the emissions that are being produced by Volkswagen diesel exceed those levels yet?
So in Europe, in California, they have a standard called Euro 6, and Volkswagen do have vehicles and on sale here that are Euro 6 compliant. Currently, Australia has a Euro 5 compliance for their diesel, so it is actually, you're allowed to have slightly higher emissions. So in terms of testing vehicles in Australia, it's quite a difficult procedure. The problem, the cheat code or the cheat software that they have, you put the car on a stationary rolling road. The car understands that it's not moving anywhere, it's not going at any kilometres an hour, so the engine switches to a mode that allows the emissions to be read at a certain level. As soon as you turn the steering wheel or depress the throttle and go forward, the car thinks, right, I'm actually moving, time to switch modes and give the person a little bit more performance at the expense of emissions. You can't actually measure here in Australia at the moment. I understand there's one outlet that can test on the roll, and it's quite. They're going to have a lot of work to do. There's more than 71,000 Volkswagens alone that are supposedly affected.
Is it possible that those emissions levels from VW diesel, as they stand at the moment, don't breach Australian levels?
The people at Audi have come out and suggested that while that cheat code may exist, it may not be switched on in the cars. So the emissions levels for Australian standards may be fine.
But people buy VW diesels because they expect that the emission levels will be low, I guess.
They buy it for emissions, they buy it for economy. It is a difficult thing to understand. If I bought a Volkswagen diesel, I would be quite shocked at the outcomes. It's a very difficult, it's such an ongoing story. It develops every single day.
It's moving, but should consumers be expecting compensation for this?
People can now go, at least Volkswagen Australia have put a device on their website where they can enter what they call the VIN number of the car, which is a number plate under the bonnet. You can actually see whether your car's affected. The ACCC are being very active about this, and they want answers from Volkswagen Australia. I think that lawyers will be looking very closely at it. I think if you buy a car expecting a certain amount of performance and it doesn't deliver, well, it's a pretty open-ended question for people with more legal minds than mine, that's for sure.
It's a long way to run on this, that's for sure. Tim Robson, thanks.